Welcome to my channel, Remember Me. Firstly, I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video and to remember this case. I believe that if people remember and talk about cases, there will be more of a chance that new information will surface and that this information could help solve a case. If you would like to recommend a case, please contact me on my details below. Just a warning that some viewers may find the content distressing. Fond du Lac County Jane Doe is an unidentified female discovered on November 23, 2008 near Campbell Sport, Fond du Lac County, Wisconsin. She has yet to be identified, although many efforts have been made to discover who she is. Investigators believe that it is possible that she may not have been from the area. The victim was between 15 and 21 years old when she died, placing her year of birth between 1987 and 1994. Discovery. Hunting season had just begun when three men in search of deer came across the body of a young woman partially submerged in frozen creek behind the town of Ashford Skyline Drive at 9:17 a.m. on November 23, 2008 in Fond du Lac County, Wisconsin. The town of Ashford, Wisconsin is a quiet rural area located halfway between Fond du Lac and Milwaukee. The area is not known for violent crimes, therefore the discovery of the frozen young woman was shocking to the community. The area in which the victim was discovered was and still is a secluded wooded area. Authorities have never revealed the exact location, most likely to compare against someone with first-hand knowledge of the crime, as authorities do in fact believe Jane Doe succumbed to foul play. To extract the body, investigators were forced to chisel away the ice, and scuba divers searched the bottom for evidence. Some articles of clothing were found, including a strapless Zoe Beth black and pink top with a pink bow, originated from Family Dollar, distributed in spring of 2008. The underclothing that she wore, also from Family Dollar, was shipped between July 1st and July 15, 2008. The jeans were that of Angel's brand, and the bottom of the legs had been rolled up somewhat. An elastic ponytail holder was found on her wrist. No socks or shoes were found at the scene. Initially, no jewelry was found until a penny-sized St. Benedict medal was found by divers, but it may not have belonged to her, as examiners could not be certain how long it had been in the water. However, some reports claimed that a bracelet containing several pendants was also found on the girl's remains. Her hair was a shoulder-length light brown, possibly having hair highlights due to having some different shades. The clothing had caused some issues with investigators, as many of the different articles were in various sizes. It has been determined, however, that she was most likely around 120 pounds. Examination. Her cause of death was inconclusive, as the severe decomposition on the body had removed all signs of possible violence from the remains. However, the case is believed to have been a murder, as suicide was eliminated as a possibility of the girl's death. The circumstances of the location of the remains had also sparked suspicion among authorities. Toxicology tests were conducted to see if any drugs or alcohol had been in her system, yet the results were never released. Although the body was found in autumn, she had died in summer, 2 to 4 months previously. This was established by examining traces from insects that were found on the remains. Jane Doe had received excellent dental care when alive. She had fillings on 4 of her bottom molars and 4 dental sealants on 4 at the top, with no signs of cavities. She is also noted as having had a slight overbite, which may have been noticeable, and overall her teeth were in good alignment. The overbite was not described as extreme, but may have been noticeable, which could be a reliable feature depicted in her facial reconstruction. The estimated height was between 4'10" and 5'4". The victim, between 15 and 21 years old, and weighed between 110 to 135 pounds at an average frame. Examiners believe she was either white or Hispanic, although Native American and Asian races cannot be ruled out. She also may have been biracial. Other physical characteristics, including healed rib fracture and being pigeon-toed or knock-heeled, which may have been noticeable when she walked, as her feet were slanted inwards. She also suffered from spina bifida ocula, but may have been unaware of the condition. To obtain DNA information, her femur was transported to the University of Texas. The victim's dental records were also recorded to compare to missing persons. Investigation. At least 200 leads have been explored into discovering the identity of the victim. A computer-generated reconstruction was created from the skull by the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children from mortuary photos, and a CT scan of the skull that was submitted to the center. The reconstruction of the victim generated over 200 tips that did not produce solid leads, as the composite apparently resembled a large number of missing people. Former missing person Amanda Berry was one of several possible identities of the Jane Doe, was ruled out by DNA analysis. She was recovered alive in 2013. Besides Amanda Berry, two other individuals that were eventually located were also ruled out of the case: Connie McAllister and Brittany Pert. McAllister, native to Wisconsin, was abducted at age 16 and taken to Mexico. She was eventually recovered alive after meeting a church missionary that reported the find to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Brittany Pert disappeared in July 2008 from Elkton, Maryland. Pert's remains were located and identified in December 2011. Her cause of death remains unreleased. In 2011, Jane Doe's body, which had been held in the Fond du Lac County Medical Examiner's Office, was buried in a light blue casket at Cattaraugus Cemetery near Wuhan, as law enforcement, area residents, and a chaplain paid their respects. There is a QR code on her gravestone, which those who visit the cemetery can use to learn about her case. Then, in November 2016, Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office detectives Ryan Murphy and Pete Vergos were given the opportunity to present the case to a panel of the national investigators and a forensic anthropologist through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, in the hopes of mining new tips on how to handle the case and garner new leads. The panel recommended creating a new composite with technology that had been improved since 2009 and exhuming the body for forensic testing, said the Sheriff's Office. It was announced the Parbo Nanolabs were working on the case to estimate the victim's race, complexion, and eye color, previously unknown from decomposition. The organization also utilized forensic genealogy. No phenotype reported, updated reconstruction, or ethnicity estimation were released. In August 2018, it was released isotopic analysis was performed on the victim's remains in the Isoforensics Laboratory located in Utah. The testing indicated that Jane Doe most likely spent her life in the southwestern United States, such as Arizona and New Mexico. She lived in the Midwest, perhaps states such as southwestern Wisconsin, northern Iowa, and southern Minnesota for less than a year preceding her death. With the information, the Sheriff's Office began reaching out to multiple law enforcement and agencies in the specified regions to see if there were any leads that they had not checked up on. A year after her exhumation, no concrete leads have come out of the contacts. Theories. Some have noticed the incredibly odd coincidence that the Fond du Lac Jane Doe and the Vernon County Jane Doe have both been traced back to New Mexico or Arizona. A connection between the two cases seem unlikely as they were discovered 24 years apart and the victimology is strikingly different. Vernon County Jane Doe was estimated to be 50 or 60 years of age. The Vernon County Jane Doe was discovered in mostly home-sewed clothing. This suggests both Jane Does did not have financial means for fancy clothing. West Mesa murders. On February 2, 2009, a woman made a discovery while walking her dog that would eventually lead to the remains of 11 women and young girls who had been murdered and buried in the desert of New Mexico. The murders occurred between the years of 2001 and 2005. The victims ranged in age from 15 to 32 years, one being 4 months pregnant at the time of her death. All of the women were Hispanic, especially one who was African American. Most of the women were involved in drug use and sex work. Police have stated they believe this is the work of a serial killer who has become publicly dubbed the West Mesa Bone Collector. At first glance, authorities believed the Jane Doe discovered in Fond du Lac County could be connected to the West Mesa murders, as she matched the age and possible race of the victims. The Fond du Lac Jane Doe also has ties to the west to southwest. The idea has been investigated and ruled out by authorities, although much debate continues amongst the online community. The West Mesa murders remain unsolved. To this day, very little is known about Jane Doe or how she came to be frozen in the shallow creek in Wisconsin. If Jane Doe had spent much of her life in the Southwest, then she may have been unfamiliar with Fond du Lac County. Authorities believe she could have been with someone who was familiar with the area. Law enforcement have reached out to a number of media networks in hopes of broadcasting Jane Doe's story, such as on America's Most Wanted. Authorities would like to reach a larger audience, specifically individuals in the Southwest who may have known Jane Doe before she came to the Midwest. The Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office is working closely with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and with other jurisdictions to disseminate Jane Doe's information in hopes of identifying her. Authorities say someone out there knows Jane Doe, she has family and friends somewhere, and it only takes one person to recognize her and assist police in resolving the matter for her loved ones. Fond du Lac Jane Doe is one of 8 identified cases in Wisconsin, according to the Clearinghouse for Missing and Exploited Children and Adults. It is the only one in Fond du Lac County. Anyone with information is encouraged to contact the Fond du Lac County Sheriff's Office or National Center for Missing and Exploited Children tip line. For the Fond du Lac County Sheriff tip line, call 920-906-4777. For the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children tip line, call 1-800-843-5678. For further contact information, please look below. Police are still actively investigating the case. The murderer of Fond du Lac County Jane Doe is unknown, and the identity of Fond du Lac County Jane Doe remains unsolved. Thank you so much for watching this video and for taking the time to remember this case. It would really mean a lot if you could share this video to spread these people's stories in the hope that new information will surface. To recommend a case, please contact me on Instagram or send me an email. Thank you!